Hello everyone, I'm Heath, and in today's video I want to talk to you about GURPS and its current state because this was one of my favorite role-playing games. It still is. It was one of the earliest role-playing games that I was introduced to back when it was 3rd edition, and of course we are now deep into 4th edition, years and years and years into 4th edition, and it's a very robust and mature system for role-playing, and I wish it was getting more attention. And one of the things that I think could get it more attention is if it had a more permissible license. Back at Gen Con, a few Gen Cons ago, I was talking to Andrew Hackard, and I did talk to him about potentially doing some type of license for GURPS, but the problem is that it's very difficult to get a license to do something that's powered by GURPS or something like that, because at the time we were thinking about Journey to the Tree of Sorrows, and then ultimately we went with just using the 5th edition rules when I was writing that book. But, I've got my own worlds that I want to write for, and being that GURPS has been so near and dear to my heart for many years, of course, I go back to GURPS and I think about, gee, wouldn't it be nice to have a really nice GURPS book for the worlds? But getting that license and getting permission to do that and so forth is very difficult. But on the other hand, I've got a lot of GURPS books over here on my shelf that I like to reference quite a bit. But I've come to think of GURPS kind of more as a toolkit for the game master if you're trying to create your own game or your own world as well and your own campaign. I mean, there are a lot of options to dig through in these books. Often, I think, a lot more than players will want to do. So that's why I think of it kind of more as the game master's toolkit than the player's toolkit. That when I'm sitting here and I'm ready to go create a world with a particular type of gaming system, for its right feel, for the right feel of the world, well, GURPS can probably do it. I mean, there are a lot of different options and a lot of details that GURPS has that could potentially allow you to do all different kinds of games. GURPS has the reputation for being very complex and, being very intensive because it has so many options. But that's as a GM toolkit. If the game master goes through and combs through all of those rules and pulls out exactly the rules that are necessary in order to create the world and invoke the feel that he or she is trying to invoke, well, then it can be a much more streamlined system. And so that's what needs to be presented to players in order to get more players into GURPS. That the game masters who are willing to go through all of these different rule books, pour through all of the point-based character generation systems and all of that to create really fantastic worlds and systems for players to play in, but then simplify all of that, hand them a world book, even pre-generated characters, whatever, send that to them, and then let the players not worry about all of the complexity that is in all of these books over here, but just the simplification that's been presented by the game master. I think that GURPS would be much more used. I think it would get a lot more table time. But in order to do that, you need to facilitate people being able to pick up their library of GURPS books who are willing to go to all of that effort, which are the game masters, dive into their books, create the worlds, and then be able to publish it in some way. Preferably some way where they can actually make some type of, can do it commercially and can and generate some kind of revenue doing it. Because then, the more that gets out there, well, then I believe that the GURPS system will only gain then in status and reputation and people coming to it once they realize its flexibility, as long as other people who are willing to do the work are doing the work in order to create the books for individual worlds and campaign worlds. I think. Obviously, at Steve Jackson Games, they think differently. And so I know that a lot of people have been arguing for a more open license for GURPS for a long time. So there's obviously, I am sure, a lot of things that I don't understand from behind the scenes and the business perspective of what's going on over there about why they may or may not want to do that. But certainly, I think from the player's perspective and from the independent game developer's perspective, we would love to see a more open license to be able to access GURPS and publish material for it. Anyway, that's just my thinking. What do you think? Please let me know down in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, all of that. And please go back to the YouTube channel because I've got like 150 different YouTube videos on tabletop and fantasy. And if you've enjoyed this video, you may enjoy some of them as well. I look forward to seeing you in many more videos to come. Later.